Make sure we're straight. All right. All right. Yo. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Or welcome if it's your first time. Do consider subscribing. So we're doing something a little different today. Normally for reviews, I do, kind of sit down, break down, the story, the tips and tricks, all that kind of stuff. But I figured we were going to do a joint review today just to get, someone else's perspective instead of just mine when we come to these games. And you see Avante's here. He's been on the channel a few times, been in all of our like anime NYC vlogs, which we are going to again this weekend that's coming up. We did a like top video game video, we did a Demon Slayer video, so he's been on the channel a few times, but this is probably one of the first times in a minute that we've been playing a game at the same exact time. I can't think of another one.
Yeah,
Maybe like Pokemon Violet when it first came out, but then I kind of fell
yeah,
off of it. But yeah, it's been a while. So
definitely has.
yeah, so for today, the game, as you can see in my background, I'm gonna be talking about Lies of P, which I think, it was a little different for me because I don't really play like the Souls-like games. Like I don't play like Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, all those kind of games. But it was really interesting to me just seeing the preview for it last year. I think it was during the summer when I just seen it. I was like, oh, it's a different take on like Pinocchio, and a lot of studios have been doing this where you take like old fairy tales or other stories and kind of reworking them and stuff like that. So Liza P came out back in September near the end. I think it was like the 24th or 26th. It is done by a Korean studio, NeoWiz, and also co-developed by Round 8. So that was the other thing that was interesting to me when it comes to Souls-like. Normally it's like these Japanese or even like Chinese studios. We got a Korean company doing it, and instead of doing the normal martial arts or anything like that, like they took a fairy tale story and kind of flipped it on his head. So I'll let you go first. What you think of the game? What'd you like about it? How did you enjoy your time with it? What'd you think?
So me personally, I definitely did enjoy the game. I thought it was very well done. The storytelling was actually pretty well done. I mean, like, I didn't even remember honestly Pinocchio, like the story of Pinocchio,
Yeah, not
even
at
though it
all.
was Disney movies and all this stuff. But
Hmm.
I was like, yo, when you first showed it to me during the summer, like last summer, I was like, yo, this just looks fire. It's like
Right.
you bring in swords and weaponry and all this different type of stuff. He's got the arm and everything,
Hmm.
bringing it to a puppet and bringing it to like a video game. I'm like, yo, I'm here for it. Um, and then when I actually started playing it, one thing I gotta say is I'm on the same level as you as far as like some of these soul games like Dark Souls and Elden Ring, stuff like that. I don't typically play. Like me
Hmm.
personally, I love hack and slash games. So like
Exactly.
God of War,
Hmm.
Genji, all these different types of games, absolutely love them. But this was a little bit different for me. The only
Hmm.
game I can really compare it to is I don't know if people know Nio or Neo, however you pronounce it. I played
Yeah,
the first
yeah.
one, and I love that game. But it was new to me in terms of the whole stamina thing. Like in a lot of
Yeah,
hack and
bro.
slash games, stamina is not a thing. So
It's
it's like
not.
as
Yeah.
far as guarding and then getting your when your stamina's gone
Pairing.
now, your
Yeah.
guard is being broken and the parrying and all that. It's I feel like it's good for games because it's like
Mhm.
it doesn't it doesn't keep you into a state where it's like, okay, all I gotta do is sit here and block forever and then I'll just take my
Right.
time and get shots. You actually have to think like
Yeah.
methodically about, okay, this is the perfect time to block. Okay, now I have to parry, now I have to roll, now I have to dodge.
Mhm.
And it brings a different element to the games,
It's
but it
definitely
does,
not passive. Like that's what I
yeah.
thought when I was playing it. Like you can't like when you talk about hack and slash games or even I mean, even those games are like action games like Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, stuff like that. It's like, yeah, you do have to think, but it's like you can low key kind of button mash or like get you unlock like 80 different combos that like you
Hmm.
just put them in and they just gonna go crazy. With this, it definitely was a lot more like even strategies was different, right? Like you
Hmm.
can choose the guard,
Definitely.
but it's gonna take a little health, or like you said, stamina, or like you could try to parry, but if you mess up, you gain half your health bar
Massive
taken out.
damage.
Yeah.
It was,
So it definitely like you gotta think even the way you build your character, right? Like you could
hmm
you talk
the
about his
leveling up
arm, like there's
process.
different arms, there's different elements you could attach onto your weapons, whether you rather do a bunch of quick hits or you want to add an element to it, use a heavier weapon and just go
Yeah.
from there. So
And then capacity was something that basically killed you. Like as far as like
yeah,
how heavy you were, how heavy you were
yeah.
depend like depends on how much stuff and how heavy the items you were carrying were. So it's like it slows down your speed when you're attacking, when you're dodging. You know what I'm saying? So it
Hmm.
was like all these different things. It's like you can have two weapons going, or you could just have one to kind of lighten the load. It was just
Hmm.
it took a lot of different thinking, a lot of different
Like builds.
changing of parts. Yeah, a lot of different builds. And then there's
Which
a
keep
leveling up
which kind
system.
of keeps you like immersed in the game too, right?
Yeah,
Like you
absolutely.
cannot approach every fight the same. Like that
No.
was one thing I noticed for sure. Like whether it's a certain area or like bosses, like
Hmm.
you cannot go in with the. I mean, you can, but it's like it's
Your
going to be
chances
so
of
on
like
point.
just running through the game in like one
Yeah,
chance with one build is not it's not gonna happen.
yeah.
Like that's one of the things I love. Even bringing in like the whole elemental thing where it's like okay,
Hmm.
puppets take more damage from electricity. The
Hmm.
petrified take more damage from fire. The humans
Right.
take more damage from acid. It's like okay,
Hmm.
you constantly have to remember. Oh wait, I have this equipped. I need to change this, and it's like you can't always change it at the same time. Like you got to go to stargazers. You gotta sometimes you just gotta take the L and die and go back,
Yeah.
and then the
Right.
chance about losing out on ergo is like
Hmm.
this game really kept you on your toes at all times. It's like I love that about it. But I'm not gonna lie, that whole thing, especially like the leveling up system, the combat system, it just made things really, really difficult. I don't think I've died in any game as much as
As
I
much as
died in
it,
this game, bro. I
bro.
swear to you.
Yeah, and I want to get to that too a little bit later because I kind of felt the same way with you. Like I'm not big, even I haven't really played like Neo or Sekiro or any of those other games. Um,
Mhm.
I think like Ninja Gaiden is kind of
Yeah.
like that hybrid between those two games because it's kind of like it's hack and slash, but it also had a lot of different elements where you had to know how you was going to go into the fight. Like Ninja Gaiden games were pretty hard. Well, the first one was hard as hell. The second one, I think they made a little technically easier, but you had to fight like more enemies or something like, which I'd much rather do. Like I'd rather fight,
Yeah.
100 easy soldiers than like two heavy-handed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, quick, just
Yeah,
agile, doing a whole bunch of weird. But
right.
then went back to the third one was absolutely nuts. Like I remember the third Ninja Gaiden, I definitely beat it because like you know me, that competitive nature of mine just it will not let me stop playing a game until it's done. I may never pick
Yeah.
it up again, but I have to finish it. But the third one was definitely fighting a T Rex with like I think like a laser arm cannon or something like that was just the
They
most
were just making
ridiculous thing
stuff up. They
ever.
were sitting in the
Yeah,
studio
it was
like, all right,
like let's throw a
what,
Digimon in
what can
here,
we
bro.
just throw
Like
in War Greymon?
exactly. Like, all right, just like
Yeah,
make it make sense, bro. We're supposed to be fighting demons. Let's keep it that way.
right.
But
Yeah. So yeah, my experience with the game. So and I definitely want to thank you because if y'all don't know, like he had to talk me off the ledge mad times because and this is kind of like the gift and the curse
yeah,
of Game Pass is the fact that like I didn't have to pay for the game technically because I already have Game Pass. Um, so if I got tired of a game, I'm just, all right, I'm gonna just uninstall this. As opposed to if you buy the game, you're not about to just not play it, like you spend money.
right.
But yeah, I can name maybe like 4 or 5 times where I was texting Avante at like 10 p.m. like, bro, I cannot beat this boss. But like sometimes it'd be like he said, switching your strategy up, switching your weapons up, your build, what amulets and different armor and stuff you're holding is, or sometimes honestly, it's put it down, come back the next day. And
Yeah, for real.
sometimes that is annoying when you have like limited time to play video games. It's like, all right, if I'm sitting down to do it now, I have to do it now because like I don't be thinking about when I go to bed that I
Hmm.
didn't do what I set out to accomplish. But yeah, I definitely agree with everything you said. I'm not necessarily into all those kind of games. Like there was a game that came out earlier in the year called Wolong Fallen Dynasty,
I
and that
did
was
see
made by
that.
like a Chinese developer.
Hmm.
And same thing, we were looking at that what was it, Black Myth Wukong game that's supposed to come out,
Hmm.
I think 2025. And that game, it's definitely like a Souls like, but it you know how in this game there's like strike damage and piercing and all. I didn't get that deep into the mechanics when it came to that stuff. It was kind of like whatever weapon I'm gonna use, I'm gonna use. Like,
Yeah, that was it. That was
but
it.
in Wolong, because I played the demo, there was some of that. And I'm about to butcher what the heck that game is even about because I don't remember. But like there was a lot more of that, like how you attacked and even like the types of moves and stuff like that. So like I kind of want to go back to it after playing this, maybe in a few months, because I'm still like pissed off from this game. But it's I think definitely would help a lot of people maybe get more into the genre if they haven't been into it before. Not saying I'm gonna go balls to the wall because I don't think like this is good for your mental health to just play these kind of games over and over
Yo,
again.
these type of games
Um,
sit there and
yeah,
stress you
just
out, bro.
bro, my hand. I told you, like, I forget which boss it was. Like, my hands were literally sweating when I finished. Like,
Multiple bosses. That first, what was it? The Fallen Archbishop, yo. I
yeah,
swear
you
to
were
you.
stuck on that one for
Every other boss, like before that, I was just like, all right, cool. Like, yeah, it took me a little bit, yo. That
Mhm.
was the first boss I had to come back next day and like, yo, now I gotta take it apart again. Cause I just a two-phase fight was just it was never the thing for me.
that
Especially
was that was the thing.
this
Yeah,
game,
I think once you get
it
what like the fifth or sixth boss, that's when they start doing the two
like
phases.
two-phase fights, and the
Yeah.
worst part about it is like with this game, people, it's like you're so limited in what you can carry. Like
Mhm.
you have to level up certain like they call it the P organ, like the heart or whatever it is, to get more healing items, to do all these things. And it's like
Extend
whenever you hit a
any
stargazer, yeah, this
throwables
stuff
you
comes
can have.
back.
Yeah.
Exactly, throwables, consumables, and all that. Whenever you use like your healing pulse or whatever it is, it's gone. And like you have to fight your way back,
To get one.
getting one just to get one more.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, yo, okay, so now I have like maybe four or five of them, maybe. And
Hmm.
I'm going into a two-phase boss fight. And I'm like, okay, bro, I just used three or four in the
On
first
the first
phase. You know,
phase, yeah. And the second phase is always harder.
the second phase is always harder. And it's just like,
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, come on, yo. Y'all doing this crooked right now. Like,
Hmm.
how am I supposed to survive this at this
Yeah.
point, bro? So, but then it came back to changing up my strategies. Like, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna do as much damage as I can, bow, bow, bow. I might take a hit or two, and then I'll back up and out. Couldn't do that with this boss. It
Right.
made me have to go into a weapon, or just a rapier, or whatever it is, quick sword
Hmm.
weapon that I can back and forth, bow,
Gotta
bow,
be
a little fire
patient. Yeah.
damage, and then that's how I had to attack it. And when I finally beat that, I think I
You
dropped my phone
feel no,
and I
you
walked
literally that's
out.
like that. I don't even know what they call it. It's messed up because it's like, man, I can't do it. And then when you do it, you feel so good and it makes you want to keep playing, but then you get pissed off again. It's kind of like a vicious
Yeah. Oh no, bro, that
masochistic
was the boss.
cycle.
I literally like I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't beat him. I probably fought him a good 50 times, more than 50 times. I texted Musa, I'm like, bro, nah, bro, it's over. Like I can't do this. Can't fight this boss. I was like, yo, F it. I'm gonna fight him. I fought him one more time after that, and that's when
It did it.
I texted
It's
Musa.
always that one time.
That one time
It's
it's
always
like, all
that
right,
one time. But
yeah.
yeah, before we keep going with the gameplay, because that's kind of what I wanted to go into too, but just let's all like the story, the art direction, stuff like that. So the story, I mean, obviously this video is no spoilers or anything. We're not gonna go in detail, but the story, it kinda is like the same story as Pinocchio. What I will say is I did kind of want to the same thing with like God of War Ragnarok, where like I kind of want to see like how close to the actual mythology, like did they get it or did they switch stuff around and stuff like that. So I low-key wanted to do that with this because obviously
I
Pinocchio
love
was a
it.
story before Disney did it. So there is, something else into the
Yeah,
the
it's
whole
like German
story.
mythology, isn't it?
I'm not sure where it's actually
I
from.
only say that because I think Pinocchio wears like a lederhosen or something like that, but that's like his costume. So that's why I said German.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm
Definitely.
not too sure. Like I didn't look into it, but it did make me want to kind of look into it. But yeah, the main premise of the game is like obviously Pinocchio. You never get called Pinocchio though. That's the other thing.
That's the thing. You never do.
So you may not actually be Pinocchio. I don't know,
I
but
mean, you are. It's Lies of P. That's the P is from
about
Pinocchio.
RUP, no one calls you P,
No one calls you anything. They just call you the puppet.
which is messed
That's
up.
it. Until like later. Like that's
Yeah.
it.
So the story is, you were made by Geppetto. You're kind of a different puppet. So the whole world, it kind of was like if you seen iRobot, it kind of was that same story where like the puppets were helping the humans and everything, and then they had something where they couldn't lie. Like that's how they were created, but they started getting murderous for whatever reason. And that was kind of the same thing with iRobot. And now what made who we're going to call Pinocchio, like the main character, what makes him unique is the fact that he can lie. And one of the commandments on puppets was that they cannot lie. So, and that kind of comes into play throughout the story where there'll be different parts of the story where, or different points in the story where they'll say like, "Hey, what happened with this?" And then the camera starts shaking and you start freaking out because you're like, I only got 10 seconds to answer this
Yeah,
question. And then you can either lie or not. And a cool thing that I didn't know about till last night, I didn't fact check it. I'm sure no one lied about it, but I'm saying I didn't try it myself in the game. Was there's that portrait of you in the game? The more you lie, there's a like,
the longer the nose
yeah,
gets.
you seen that?
Yeah, apparently I read into it a little bit. I think like it's actually a weapon, like that you can
Mm,
get. I think you have to
if you
collect
lie enough.
all the discs, all like the recording discs, and then you got to
Mm,
do like if you lie enough or lie like the majority of the game, it becomes like a weapon that you can use. I think maybe
God.
in New Game Plus or something like that. I have to look more into it, but yeah, I was checking it out, which is why it has to be Pinocchio because of the nose thing.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
Yeah,
No, it's definitely him. I was just saying,
yeah.
like, they never actually called him it,
Called
but
him that. Yeah, it was which was so weird, but I mean,
yeah. So that's kind of the premise of the game, the original story of Pinocchio. Like when he lies, his nose get bigger, but that's a little different in this. But it does revolve around the whole lying system, and then you trying to like save whatever people's left, and then on top of the puppets going crazy, there's the whole plague going on where people is you hear them coughing in the house. It's like
yeah,
it's kind of crazy, but there are also different people, like there's like the stalkers and other
yeah,
stuff like
yes,
that that you come into contact with. So I think there's you mentioned it earlier, like the different people you fight, like the undead and the puppets, the humans, like they all got different, weaknesses and stuff like that. But I think the story is pretty good, and there's multiple endings. I don't know if there's more than two. I know there's like at the end you have a choice, and you can kind of either get one ending or get the other ending. But I mean, we kind of talked about it, the gameplay and everything. We said it before, like it's a Souls-like. There's, for people that don't know that term or Soulsborne, what people call it is just kind of a genre that people kind of made up from games like Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, Neo, all these games where it kind of prides itself on being able to block, parry, things like that while you're fighting. And they're extremely difficult. Like no matter how much you kind of upgrade, like you're going to either still get hurt or like you're going to always face tough people. You can't pause the game for some reason. I don't know.
that
To
was
me,
blowing mine
it's
too.
like, can you pause in Neo?
No, you literally
Okay,
have
so
to like defeat the enemies in the area.
that just seems to be like the standard for some reason. Like to me, it's like an unnecessary, like difficult thing to play in the game.
I feel like Neo made a little bit more sense because I think you can like co-op play in Neo a little
Hmm.
bit. To a certain point, I think you can co-op play a little bit. So it made a little bit more sense for you to be able to you can't do it in Neo. But I'm like, in this, like, what is the point of not allowing
When
me
you're single
to pause it?
player,
You know what it is?
yeah,
I feel like it's because of the fact I just think they wanted to make it a little bit more harder with the fact that if you could be switching around different items. Like once you run out
certain
of certain
weapons around
throwables
there.
and stuff like that, it may make the game easier. So I get it. This still sucks. I don't agree with it,
Yeah,
but I get it.
because it'll be like you trying to just you got to find a corner or something to go into if you
Mm.
like, yeah. But what kind of prepared me for that was just the fact that, and it's not nearly as difficult, but the new Jedi games that been coming out, the one that came out earlier this year, Jedi Survivor, and then Jedi Fallen Order that came out in 2019, where it's difficult, but not nearly as difficult. But it was kind of the same thing as far as like parrying moves and um you could pause in that game though. And then go to like the checkpoints. And that's kind of the same in Lies of P. Like you can go to these checkpoints, heal up, but then all the enemies kind of resurrect themselves. So
Yeah.
you kind of gotta like choose like, all right, either I'm gonna run past everybody or you find a shortcut to get back to these things called stargazers, which are the checkpoints,
Hmm.
and you could teleport between them, all that kind of stuff. But you kind of gotta like choose how you want to do that, right? And then
Yeah.
um eventually, this isn't a spoiler for real, but the Stargazers, you'll be able to do stuff at them that you wouldn't need to do with, you would have to go somewhere else to go do, like changing your arm out and upgrading. Well, you still got to upgrade your weapon at the hotel, which I guess makes sense, but um,
Yeah, because you got to have a certain person to do it. So
exactly. But speaking of upgrading, so when it comes to, and I think we talked about a little bit yesterday, was upgrading, leveling up. How do you feel about it? Talk about like leveling up yourself and then also like weaponry. I start with like leveling up yourself because that was something, I'll be honest, from the beginning when I started playing, I was like, this doesn't make sense.
yeah. So for me, like thankfully, like I said, I played Neo or Nile before. So the leveling up system was kind of the same where, you have a certain material, whatever. In this game, it's called Ergo, just like some
Mhm.
type of spirit energy or whatever. It was something different in Nile. I can't exactly remember right now, but you use that, you collect it from the enemies you defeat. You can pick it up like from different spots in the game, like they'll have chunks of it or whatever, and it converts into a certain amount if you use it. So when it comes to the leveling up process, it wasn't too bad,
Oh,
but I
and
also
if you
wasn't a
die,
fan
you
in the
lose it
aspect.
too. If you
Yeah,
die,
and if you die, you lose it. You got to go
you
find it
drop the
again.
ergo and you got to pick it up. Yep.
You got to go pick it up again. You still lose a little bit of the amount. So no matter how much you had before, you lose a little bit, which was just like Nile. So I was used to that. But
Mhm.
the reason I wasn't a fan so much was because literally every different aspect. So they had, what was it? They had vigor, which was like your health and stuff like that. You had capacity, which allowed you to carry more weight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They had what was it?
Something for
And
stamina. I forget what it was called
see,
though.
it's something for stamina. I can't exactly remember. But then they had advance, they had technique, they had
Activity.
yeah, motivity, which apparently motivity and technique were like close to the same thing.
Yeah, every time I would check like how it affected your score, I think there was like one thing different with it, or like one of them helped a certain set of defense against certain elements, and then the other one was like the other set or something
From
like
what I read, it was more about, I guess, the way you handle certain weapons. Like bigger
that.
weapons, if you used motivity allows you, I guess, to wield them a
Electric or
little bit
something.
better. Not even the elements, just like I guess the size of the weapons, like certain bigger weapons. And then
Oh,
technique was like for like stuff like I guess swords or spears and stuff like that, where
yeah,
it was
that's
just, but it wasn't something that you could
it's
like
too intricate.
physically see. Like
Yeah,
it was just really, really weird because I was really trying to figure it out. But so even after all of these different things, whenever you upgraded something, it seems like your defense always went up, which you would expect to be good. But like no matter where you were at in the game, whether it was the beginning or whether it was the end,
you
as
can
your defense
never
is going up,
you can
it
never
doesn't.
just plow through nothing. Yeah.
No, you can't take hits, bro. Like you really can't. Your defense is going up, but every single time as you advance through the game, it's like your defense doesn't go up at all.
Hmm.
Regular characters are sitting there slapping you, and you're taking like 25% per hit.
It's crazy.
There's like this one puppet in the game, and it pissed me off so much. It was like the one with the rake, where they literally just drive into you and hit you repeatedly like 4 times. Bro, if you get
And
hit
you
by
can't
that,
block if you don't block one.
if you don't
It's
block the first time, it's over for you. You can't
yeah.
like block halfway through. So it was just
Mhm.
it was the most annoying thing because then if somebody else followed up with a hit, bro, you're dead.
Right.
So like, and you can't sit there. Even if you perfect parried the first one, you'd have to
Mhm.
sit there and try to perfect parry every single hit, and that
That's
takes
that's something I hated
incredible
too,
time.
where it was like you tried to be better and like when you talk about the pairing, it's like even certain enemies, especially bosses, their attack pattern or combos would change depending on what you did sometimes. Like you could
Hmm.
watch someone, they'd be like, okay, I do this, they do like this. Okay, now I know they're gonna spin and do this. But if you up on them or you block their first one, then they start adding stuff to the combo and
I'm
stuff
like,
like that.
yo, why are you learning? This is not a thing in games.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Put
yo,
the
that's not what
AI,
you're supposed to do. I'm like,
put the
you're
AI in
doing
the
some weird
puppet.
stuff. That's not what you're supposed to do right now. You're
That
supposed to
chat
go to this path.
GPT AI and
Crazy.
the puppets. Yeah. And speaking of that, because we talk about gameplay and combat and stuff like that. Yeah, the leveling up was something that like yeah, like it was kind of like inconsequential at some point because you're never going to just it's not like I'm trying to think of a game. I can't really think of a game right now, but in some games it would kind of be like you upgrade and you go through a certain area or whatever, and then when you go to another area, okay, people are stronger, but you're naturally upgrading and stuff like that. In this game, it's kind of like you gotta go through a whole area before you get enough to upgrade. But at that point, you went to a next harder area anyway, so it's kind of like the game, the difficulty kind of stays the same in a sense. Like it just stays hard the entire time. Pause. But like Viagra, if you want a sponsorship, feel me. But but like um that's just like kind of how it is. Like, and we could be exaggerating a little bit. Like
I
it
don't think
obviously
so.
helps somewhat, but it's just a stark difference between when you upgrade your health and your stamina versus like capacity and motivity and technique and all that. Like the health will go up like 10 or so points or something, and then like capacity and motivity and stuff will go up by like two or three, sometimes five, but not like all the time. So yeah, the and a lot of things we could talk about or complain about could just be that's how these games are. Like I said, I don't really play them, but one of the other things I didn't like when it came to the combat was the fact that you had to be like the timing, and that's something I read online too. Like some of these games, what makes a game harder is the timing, like the window you have to do certain stuff. I can't compare
Hmm.
it to other games. Like when I parried, like it felt good, but there is such a small window to get it. And then at the same time,
Hmm.
I didn't like that like you were limited in those windows as far as doing anything and also positioning. Like in most games, if you're blocking or parrying or anything like that, it's kind of like it puts your character in that like a mode, kind of like a fighting stance in a sense. And no matter where you're getting
Hmm.
attacked from, you're gonna or your body's gonna turn, you're
Yeah,
gonna
it'll
do something
shift
like
or
that.
whatever.
In
Yeah,
this, you have to
it was not the
literally be
case.
up on it. Bro, I was up on a puppet. I tried to parry his attack, but because I was like up closer to him and technically not at like where the sword was swinging, it didn't parry it, but the sword still hit me. Like that doesn't make sense. If the sword's going to hit me, I should be able
Yeah,
to parry it. Or
right,
like if you turn to the side just a little bit, it won't work.
right.
Or if you roll but you can't roll and then be holding the block. You gotta like you can do one or the other, which makes it
Hmm.
a little difficult. And again, this is just us giving our like personal experience with the game. Like it's not us trashing the game. It's just
Yeah.
what we liked, what we didn't like, what just how it was. Again, this can just be we're not as good as other people are at these games. You watch people on YouTube, they like they know like just they
But yeah,
nice. Like
you
it
know
is
what was crazy though, bro? Like I don't. Well, one thing I want to get back to is the fact that you said like it was consistent because that's the thing. If you notice, you never got to choose a mode for this game. The game
that's
just was what it
bro.
was. There's
Once
no
a
easy,
game
medium,
starts
hard, bro. It's
without
just the game.
once you land in the world of a game and it didn't ask you normal, easy, or whatever, you're
Exactly.
going to be playing a hard game.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely. There's no going back. Like that was one of the things I noticed. I'm like, yo, wait, they're not gonna let me choose. Like, what if I just want to run through this genre real quick, like on easy mode? That
nah,
was not it. They gave you no choice.
they gave you
So
no
there's
choice.
that.
And I, I'm trying to think
I
of
like
another
it though.
game
I
like
kind
that.
of
I
like
think Zelda does that too, actually. every Zelda game, there's no such thing as easy or whatever. It's kind of like you either get new weapons or new know how to fight through it or whatever, and then you go from there. And that's kind of I like it personally.
Yeah, no, I actually enjoyed that. I was looking when it first started. I'm looking for it, but I'm like, oh, okay. I guess the game just
I
is what the
just got to
game
do
is.
it.
But
Yeah.
it, and I was like, okay, cool. So
Yeah, and it kind of forces you to, because let's be honest, if you play on easy or normal mode, the ways to beat some of these bosses, you probably wouldn't do. Like you probably
mhm,
would stick to the same strategy,
mhm.
maybe switch it up a little bit, but you wouldn't be, doing it over and over again. So, it is what it is. I did like the art direction to the game. Like it's
Yeah, it's really
kind of
cute.
horror, but not really. Like it's always nighttime. It's always cloudy. It's that, like we mentioned earlier, like that 18th, 19th century, like European Gothic, like
Right,
look to it. The
like a
puppets
steampunk
definitely
type
look
thing.
very creepy. There's so many jump scares in this game too. You could be
Yeah, you just
walking,
walk
a dude
past a
will come out a
corner.
corner or bust through a wall like the Kool-Aid man,
I'm like, yeah.
and knock you off a cliff.
I seen the one where it was like the girls in like the skirts and like she like turns her head, opens her mouth,
Oh
and she
yeah,
runs and she turns like
they
into a
start
bomb.
screaming and stuff.
Yeah, I'm like,
Them
yo, like,
little, they got the little baby puppets that be crawling around
yo.
or halfway. They be jumping
It
up and
was sitting in
attacking.
like front of a fireplace or something like that. I'm
Scary,
just like,
bro.
what is going on?
Yeah,
I'm like,
no,
nah, they
nah,
but yo, nah, the art direction
they did their thing.
they did their thing with that. Like it was super full, it was super well done the
Hmm.
entire time. I got flashes low key of like BioShock 2, just because of
Right.
like the state of like how everything is and everything just looks a mess. And
Hmm.
you got people running around in masks, you got people just wanting to
Dead
attack.
bodies. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just a
so like I
mess
mean, yeah,
everywhere.
it was dope. The art direction was definitely dope. I give him a shout out for that for sure.
Yeah, there. Speaking of, well, it has nothing to do with art direction. I always say speaking of something that has nothing to do with it. I'm talking about like the sound and soundtrack and stuff. There wasn't that much music in the game. Like when it came to the atmosphere, like it was kind of quiet, but I feel like that was on purpose. Like all you hear
Mhm,
is you smashing into puppets and stuff like that. Like you had those little vinyls, I think you mentioned it earlier. If you
mhm,
find all of them, you can play those, but you can only play in the hub world, which is the hotel for people that haven't
mhm.
played it yet. I don't know. I feel like I've liked games where you can kind of, obviously it's not a selling point of this game, but like Sonic Frontiers, you could actually you find the songs and you can like have like a jukebox feature where you could pick songs from like all these old Sonic games and just play that while you're playing around. Obviously not when you're in the stage, but like when you're in the open world, you could
Mhm.
I'm playing like Sonic Adventure 2 music, like Sonic Color, stuff like that. But
So,
I mean, it wasn't a big thing. I never really noticed it, honestly.
mhm.
I probably just threw my headphones in, or like if there's some dialogue going on, I just read it or maybe listen to what they're saying and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. Okay, so let's talk about some like tips and tricks you would give for people. Like obviously, as like everybody's been hearing throughout this whole video, is that like there's so many ways to play this. Like there's you can go in, try and get your timing right. You could go in and attack that specific enemy's like elemental deficiency, which can work depending on what weapon you have. But if it's like you go in with like a big weapon that could do more damage, but it uses more stamina, the arm choice you could use, everything like that. Like, what's something that as you played, you kind of learned, like, okay, this is how you do it, this, or was it like, or even as you were switching, like, what was your thought process between, like, okay, how am I going to approach this person? How am I going to approach this enemy? How am I going to do that?
Well, I mean, as you play through the game, in my
And
opinion,
leveling
start
up and all that stuff too. Like, what?
yeah. In my opinion, as you play through the game, you start to realize which enemies obviously pose more of a threat to you than other enemies. Like you got some
Right.
enemies that shoot from a long distance or can attack from a long distance.
I
Obviously,
hate
I
them
feel like
dudes. I'm like
yeah,
machine gun dudes that be hiding
yeah,
up on the
or like
cliff.
the ones with the gas or whatever. So it's like my initial reaction, obviously, to take them out, and then focus on the whoever's hand to hand, close or whatever.
Hmm.
One thing I did specifically, I feel like was um even so, say if I was playing through one time and I died, like I kind of get a study of the area first. Just
Playing.
like if I was in an area, I kind of try to get the layout of the land first. That way I know exactly. Because like there'll be times where it's like, okay, it's like four enemies and you got somebody throwing bombs at you from up at the top of the spot or
Mm.
something like that, bro. You gotta be aware because even if you're sitting there blocking everybody else, one, your stamina's going down, you're still taking damage regardless, and then you got a flying bomb coming in at you from a distance. Like,
Torpedo flying through.
yeah, like it's incredibly not doable.
Yeah.
So like definitely learn the layout, and learn the weaknesses very, very quickly.
Mhm.
And
It's
just I feel
normal to
like
die too. I think that's what
yeah,
people need to know.
bro.
Like
And that's the thing, yeah,
you're meant to die a lot.
you're not gonna go through this game without dying. It's literally impossible. If I see anybody do like a run and they did not die, I'm calling BS. I'm calling you out because it's like and like I said, there's no leveling. So I'd be like, okay, maybe if they were playing on easy mode on a new game plus or something like that,
Or they were
maybe.
like they leveled up all the way somehow
Exactly.
and got to
Something
the
like that. But
yeah.
even then, it's like you're gonna because of like timing and everything, you're gonna make mistakes and you're gonna take L's. It's just
Mm,
it's unavoidable. You know what I'm saying?
mm.
I've played through New Game Plus now, and I've still died. You feel me? And that's like I've kept all my leveling up. I got my special weapons that I got through playing the game. I kept all my.
I agree with everything you just said. But yeah, the tips and tricks, yeah, like you said, getting a lay of the land, I think is the biggest thing. And learning from your mistakes. Like if you're doing a method as you're fighting that goes beyond the boss fights, like anything like going through the level, like that's you're gonna have to switch it up. Either switch it up, fight differently. There's no shame in running too. Like there are certain parts where I fought, got the ergo I needed, and then I would just sprint through, go through a shortcut and stuff like that. Like you can't fight every single enemy every single time. It's not worth it.
No, especially because every single time you use the Stargaze, they come back. You can't literally sit
Yeah.
there and fight. But I remember I told you there was that one like kind of like a mini boss type thing where it's like
Mm.
there was a stargazer behind him, like
Oh, the
going up the stairs,
clown.
the clown. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, there's mad enemies around here throwing stuff at me, shooting at me, and then I got him rolling a huge rock and then trying to sit there and throw hands with me, literally throw hands.
Yeah.
And
Go go
then I'm like,
gadget arm.
bro, exactly. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, bro. So I ran past him, got to the stargazer, saved it so that way when I came back after
You could fight
inevitably dying, yeah, I could fight him
him.
1-on-one in the bag. And I'm like, all right, yo, this makes
Mhm.
way more sense. But yeah, that's why I
Oh,
said getting the layout of the land is very important. You know what I'm
speaking
saying?
to him too, like when it comes to tip and tricks, it's using the environment to your advantage. Like
Oh yeah,
you want to run around certain obstacles because yeah, the AI, I think the AI is pretty good in this game. I'm not gonna lie. Like puppets will follow you like
yeah,
past a
absolutely.
certain point if you in their vicinity. But like yeah, using certain parts of the environment to roll around and
Mhm,
have the enemy kind of go separate yourself so you could heal, stuff like that, I think is
mhm.
definitely important. But
Or having them
let's
attack the area, knowing that they can't get through, or like
yeah.
getting kind of like reflected back a little bit. Yeah, like it's
Hmm.
definitely learning stuff like that. So I said is very, very crucial, especially in a game like this, where one punch will leave you with like
It's
four
live and
pieces.
learn. I think that it's like the epitome of live and learn. Like you literally have to play through experience and just be like, okay, this is
Mhm.
what I got to do, and then go and execute it. But
Don't be
speaking,
afraid to farm, bro.
oh yeah,
Farm
yeah,
is
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. Like Avante said, like when the enemies are getting resurrected, when you go to Stargazer, like that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like if you need to buy some extra throwables or like
mhm.
grindstones and stuff like that, like or you
Farm
just
the
need to
ergo farms.
upgrade or you need something to upgrade your weapon or your own vigor or anything like that. Yeah, don't be afraid to clear out some puppets, run to Stargazer, heal up, go back, do it again. You kind of have to at some points, but
Oh yeah, absolutely. I did that plenty of times just when I was low on ergo and I needed to buy some throwables or something like that.
I
Went to the
was,
same spot
bro,
over and
the
over again.
discrepancy between buying and selling is crazy in this game. That's another thing I don't know
I
if
don't
you
think I
noticed
sold
that or
anything.
not,
I didn't sell anything the entire time because I was just like, I'm pretty
bro.
much going to use all of this.
Well, some of the stuff I'm like, I know I'm not going, like, some of the weapons you find, like, I never use this thing, I'm gonna sell it. Some of the, what do you call them? The, like, resistance stuff, I kind of use sometimes, depending on who else
I know I
fighting
use
again.
those.
Like, if I
Like,
wasn't going to really like if I notice I'm not getting affected by that status that much, it's like, why do I have all these? Or like I would sell half of them. The
Hmm.
star, what are they called? The star pieces, stardust. What the heck are they called?
Star fragments.
Star frag. I don't think they is that what they call?
The thing for the Spectre?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think star
Yeah,
fragments.
like I would sell those sometimes too because I would have like 50 in storage, and it's like you pick them up from fighting people too. It wasn't really,
Hmm.
but yeah, there was a discrepancy. Like in Pokemon, if you buy something and then sell it, they'll give it to you for half. Like that was
Yeah,
just the
yeah,
rule for everything. In this game, it'll be like you buy something for 400 and you sell it for like 70. Like
yeah.
disrespect.
I
Um,
mean, you tend to. I can't even say. I was gonna say you tend to find a lot of this stuff, but you can find any of
you
these
find
things.
yourself in the wild, yeah.
Yeah, you feel me? So I
But
mean,
if
it
you
kind
need
of
a lot at one point, like you were saying, like farming, or like you're going to a boss fight specifically, it's like, all right, I need to, I gotta buy a bunch of this.
one
But
thing to remember though also is the chunks though, because I like you would get them,
you
but then
forget they're down there at the
you forget they're
bottom.
down there, bro.
Yeah.
Those things stack up crazy. Like there'd be sometimes
Like
I'm
six
like, yo, I
hundred,
need
three
bread.
thousand
Yeah.
a piece. Yeah.
And then you sit there, you do all of them. Now you've got like 20,000, 30,000 ergo just in your. I'm like, oh snap! Like I completely forgot about this stuff. So
Hmm.
just always make sure because like at first I'll be thinking, okay, it goes directly just into your ergo, and I'm like, no,
Yeah,
wait,
no.
you have to actually use them in order for you to get the ergo, which is
Yeah.
why my dumb behind like, yo, oh, also a tip, bro, please, because I was not reading it when I first started the game. Musa told me later the
What was
rare
it?
ergo you get from bosses, do not use them for extra ergo just to use, bro. Because I
Oh,
did that with
okay.
like the first three boss ergos I used. Don't do it. There's a person in.
Well,
I'm not spoiling. I'm just saying there's a person in there who may use it. So
yeah.
just
Well, it says in the description too. It said like,
I didn't
oh,
read the
a
description at
collector
all.
may
Not
use
gonna
it.
lie.
Yeah,
Just
but
keep it. That's all I'm gonna say. It's a tip. Just keep it, bro.
yes and no. Because like at one point I knew I wasn't going to buy any more certain weapons or amulets, and I'm just like, I'd rather just like because you could see from the seller what you can buy with the ergo, and I'm
Mhm.
just like, I'm not going to use this. I'd rather get the 15K and just
Really,
yeah,
bro? In my opinion, bro, like all the web, not all of them. But it's like I'd rather have both because, like, for me, this game does have real replay value, especially since there's no level. I mean, there's no like easy, medium, hard mode type thing. So it's
yeah.
like you're going to go through the same exact thing. And for me, the fact that I died so many times now is like, okay, nigga, let's run that back. Yeah, I'm not gonna die as many times as I did before. You're not catching me the same way y'all was catching me before.
Yeah,
So it's like it's a little bit of a pride thing where I definitely had to run it back. But
it
so
depends because I'm just like I'm so let's say like the regular weapons, right? Like I kept like obviously the electric baton joint, whatever it is. I don't even know what name of that thing. The
I know.
rapier, the fire dagger, and then the poison
I
dagger.
never found that. I never found
Really?
that. The fire dagger. I got like the poison spear, but I never found the fire dagger.
That's crazy. I don't know how you was. That was a lot of points for that thing because they'll eat away at their health as it's at a
Yeah, no,
burn.
I get it for sure. I never found that, and always thought it was weird. And the thing that annoyed me too was the fact that it was like I was hoping that like it was fire or it was like electric in both the handle and the like the I guess we call it the blade type because you can like
Yeah,
in this game you
no,
can like disassemble
they
things
had
and
to
put them
both.
together.
They had to both be the type.
Yeah, that was just it was annoying because I'm like, okay, bet now I can take the bottom off of this, add it to something else, and now this
That's what
whole
I
thing will become
thought.
electric, and then
Doesn't
it
work.
doesn't work that way. It sucked.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, so now everything can't be electric if I wanted it to.
yeah.
But I still think the special weapons that character ends up like selling you, like,
Mm.
bro, I'm saying that trident, bro.
Yeah,
That's
no,
like,
the trident. I think the the scythe thing when you
oh, the
was
puppet
fighting the
weapon.
Black Brotherhood,
Yeah,
that came in handy because it's a
super handy
bunch of
because the
them fighting
power
at the same
weapons.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
but
yeah.
like after, and you might keep like the a sword or something, but it's like
The Ouroboros eye wasn't bad.
you don't need all of them. Like that's my only thing. If it's just gonna sit, like if I'm at the ninth boss or 10th chapter or whatever, and I notice this thing is just sitting in my inventory, I know I don't need it. Like
I go through everything. But now the other two, like the Holy Sword and the I even brought the umbrella because the umbrella basically, bro, is the rapier.
Yeah, I
It
upgraded
attacks
that
like the
to
rapier.
like the third level, and I'd honestly never used. Lasting appeal, replay value, stuff in the game. So there's a website, people probably know about it, but how long to beat was.com.
Wow.
But you can kind
Tell
of
us
see
about this
it.
stuff.
It'll break down like I think it takes a summary of the amount of people that say how long they took to beat it. So it's how long to beat, then it's how long to do like the main story plus extra, which I don't know what extra is. It says that for every game. And then completionist, which I know is the people that try and unlock everything. So for how long to finish the game, it said 30 hours. And then completionist was around 58 hours. And then for me, because I died so many times and replayed certain bosses like 20 times, 50 times, whatever, however many times, honestly, lost track, it said I was at like 55 hours of playtime at the end. I think you said you was around probably 40, 45, probably, like if you had to estimate. So I think it's a good, to me, especially for a game like this, like 30 plus hours in any game is plenty. And the game isn't $70 yet, I guess, because it came out at a time before everything was 70, but I think it was 60, right?
Yeah, I think it was 60.
Yeah, it was 60, and I think you can probably find sales on it digitally. There might be a Black Friday sale. You could probably grab it for like 40 or something, 45.
Mhm.
And then if you have Game Pass, you could get it in there too if if you subscribe. Or even if you don't subscribe and you just want to pay $10 for a month of Game Pass and then play it. So. But yeah, so that's how long it takes to beat it. But then you mentioned, you're doing New Game Plus. So if people want to go back, play it, keep all your weapons and all that. And then the what do you call it? The director actually did announce that the game did sell 1 million copies already, so that's good, especially for a game like this that's kind of coming out in a year that is just bombarded with all
Yeah,
these big
classic
games. And
titles and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, this is a new IP no one really like knows about. It's a Souls-like game that isn't, it's kind of popular, but it's still niche. Like it's not like
Yeah.
a platformer
I feel
or
like it has its own, like it has a fan base, but it's not like everyone's going to be reaching out to play this type of game. Because
yeah. And
honestly,
I
like I
don't
said,
think they look for that. Like sometimes you like having a dedicated fan base and not have to like appeal to the masses because
and
the
change and
game this
everything.
hard would never. It's just not like
Right.
you gotta kind of game a decent amount, to be
Yeah.
playing a game like this. But yeah, he did announce, DLC is on the way. It's getting worked on, and then also a sequel. He shared some screenshots. One of the screenshot was like Pinocchio on a boat going somewhere. So that's why people was thinking like, oh, maybe they're doing other fairy tales with Peter Pan, and I don't know what that would. We'll see where it goes. I'm definitely interested to see like how much they will change in these kind of games because it will be a sequel. I don't know, like Dark Souls 2 and 3 are that different than their
The
predecessors,
original.
like how they switch it up. I don't know, but the DLC I'm definitely gonna buy. You know, complete the journey of Mr. P. Um,
Mr. P.
yeah. All right.
Mm.
So now I do want to kind of talk about because we're talking about lasting appeal and we're talking about other games that came out this year and I want to let's give a final score, but then I want to kind of talk about where does this rank for like games this year. So for final score, I personally gave it like a 8.5, which I thought was very solid. Originally, I was gonna get like sometimes I only think of like the good parts of games. I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely like a nine or a plus, nine
Mhm.
or above. And I was like, there was so many things that was just like for me personally, like other people could look at the things I didn't like about the game and be like, well, that's just how Souls-like games are. Like it's
Right.
just it is. So yeah, I gave it 8.5. It currently has a 80 on Metacritic. So that's where like, they take all the video game publications and average those scores out. So 80 is obviously like an 8 out of 10, which I thought was fine.
Mhm.
And it has an 8.3 user score. So like that's like me and you going on there giving our rating. So user scores are kind of BS sometimes. So like someone literally will rank a game like a 1 because
just to be a contrarian and be
yeah,
annoying.
yeah, or they'll be like, oh, I didn't like they changed the hair on Mario. It's like, all right, touch some
Yeah.
goddamn grass, bro. Oh, but what do
Yeah.
you think you would give it? Okay.
In all honesty, I was thinking, even before you said your score, I was probably saying like between a 7.5 and an 8 for me.
Okay.
Honestly, because well, one, I did, like I said, I've played a type of game like this before, so I was a little bit used to it, but still, like, I feel like one of the major drawbacks for me is what we mentioned earlier was when it came to like the whole defense and like the combat system, just because, like, yo, no matter how much I was raising my character's defense, I could not tank hits. I
Took too
was
much
taking hits.
damage. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just too much damage. I'm like, yo. And then the fact that you have to kind of go through after a while, and then you can eventually choose to upgrade parts of your P organ in order to get different things, and then that could help you get more healing pulses. But it's like it's not necessarily where you have to go with it. But it was just
It took me a
that,
second to get that down too, because I didn't
yeah.
realize like, oh, you have to unlock two random things in this thing to get that
Hmm.
whatever. So there was times where I was
Yeah,
sitting there thinking I had the thing and I didn't have the thing.
yeah. No, I
But
get
you're
that.
able to. Did you reset yours at all before?
No, because I
I
figured the
reset it
way I had it set
once.
is the way my character. That's the way I started fighting. So I'm like, okay,
Mm,
if this is the way I'm going to fight, then it's like, okay, I've gotten used to this. Let me just stick with it. And I just
got
started, continuously going on with other things.
got it.
But
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
I
everything.
did like it gave you options. I think that's
Yeah, absolutely.
the best part of the game. But yeah, the some of the stuff with the combat, like I said, the story was cool. The characters are really interesting. Even
Yeah,
the like I told you, I was gonna try and look up like how not historically accurate, but I guess like source material accuracy and all that. But
mhm.
like even the butterflies and stuff like that had like that was a deeper meaning,
Yeah.
like that character and stuff like that,
But
which
we didn't even get into like the Gemini thing, like
the Jiminy
the
Cricket.
yeah, like that was. I thought that was like it was kind of cool. It was like a little nod or whatever it is. It's like
Yeah.
technically, I guess it would be pronounced Gemini, but they were like, oh, Gemini and stuff like that.
Oh,
But
they said Gemini.
they say Gemini instead of
Oh,
Gemini. It's spelled
I
like
was.
Gemini, but they say Gemini, and it's like close to Jiminy, like Jiminy Cricket. So I was like, okay, that's cool. That's kind of a dope
Yeah,
thing. And
yeah.
he's always with you, even though I think he's a puppet too. But
Technically, yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much the review, guys. But before we head out, I did want to, talk to you about kind of how the year's going with games real quick. So tomorrow, the official like Game Awards, they're going to be, I think, December 7th. So tomorrow, the official nominations is going to come out for all the categories, but obviously the biggest category people care about is Game of the Year. There's always 6 nominees. People have been trying to like what do you call it, predict what games are going to make it, because this year has just had so many big games that are highly rated as well. Like there's a lot of games that are like 90 plus on Metacritic. Like you got Dead Space remake, Resident Evil 4 remake, Street Fighter 6, Final Fantasy 16, this game, Liza P, Cyberpunk. It was DLC, but still. Um, Super
isn't
Mario
there some like
Wonder, all this
Starlight or something?
crazy stuff. Starfield.
Starfield, yeah, that came out.
Starfield got a lot of mixed reactions from a lot of
Did
people.
it?
Like, it was a very hated or love it game. Yeah, it was
Oh, okay.
like the reasons a lot of people hated it was a lot of reasons a lot of people loved it too. Like it was very divisive. Like,
Okay.
but I enjoyed it. I need to get back into it. I put like 20 hours into it, but then I forget what I started playing after that. There's a few other games I need to get to, but yeah, my video for that, it's going to be a mix, honestly, of going to be like my top games of this year, and then probably like the honorable mentions will be like games I played this year that didn't come out this year or something like that.
Mhm.
Because like again, I don't get paid to do this. Companies don't send me review codes 2 weeks in advance. Like even for this or Tears of the Kingdom, like where I'm sitting there trying to finished the night before. I got to record and all this, so like not really enjoying it. Like I'm not trying to rush to finish games just to do a video. So,
Mhm.
um, there's a couple more games I'm gonna try and play, but yeah, so far, what have you been? Well, you brought up Call of Duty, so we could talk about that real quick.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
seen a lot of
Honestly,
people just like, bro, number one, they said it was supposed to be DLC in the first place. And then
yeah. That was
they
the
said,
thing. It
oh
kind of
no,
launched on two on Modern Warfare
it
two as DLC.
that's what people said. They're like, well, when you're installing it, it literally shows up like as an attachment to Modern Warfare 2 or something like that. And like it doesn't have its own separate there's no trophy list, right?
No, I don't think so.
There's no trophies or achievements.
You
They
know what's
said
crazy? It got rid of my like, cause like I was going to like my stories to check and go ahead and delete my Modern Warfare 2 data. There was no Modern Warfare 2 data, like at all. Before I even put the game in the system, it's like my Modern Warfare 2 data just up and left. I don't know what happened, but cause I never uninstalled it or anything like that. So I'm like, all right, what the hell is this? And then when I plugged it in, when I downloaded, installed it, and everything, I'm like, yo, same menu, same everything else. The only
it's
thing is
crazy,
new is
bro.
like the zombies, and I'm just like, yo, I literally just paid $80 for an update, bro. Like, and I'm
It's
so
DLC.
mad
It's
about
just
it.
straight DLC. People's
Straight
mad.
DLC.
They also what's it called? Oh dang, what was I gonna say? It has something to do with what you just said about oh yeah, it wasn't in like 200 gigabytes or something crazy.
I didn't even check. I didn't even. It
That was
probably was.
the first screenshot I saw was like 205 gigs. It's just like, bro, that's half the or a quarter of the hard drive.
Yeah, I think I have a terabyte like somewhere in my house. I just gotta,
Expansion, yeah.
yeah, I just gotta find it because
Yeah,
I'm gonna
you gotta
definitely
get
get it.
one. I ended up buying one on Black Friday like 5 years ago. It was like 2 terabytes for like $60. I was like, yeah, I need that.
Yeah, I think I have something similar to that because
Yeah,
originally I was trying to take everything off my PS4 for when you bought the PS, like when we got our PS5s or whatever, and so that way I have all the everything for that. But
mhm,
it's somewhere in the room. I just gotta find
yeah.
it.
So it's safe to say Call of Duty will not be on your top games
No,
of the year.
the thing is because like okay, I enjoyed Modern Warfare 2 to a point, but I felt like there's a lot of things they needed to fix.
Mhm.
But it was still better than some of the other Call of Duties that had came out previously, like Advanced or Infinite Warfare, whatever it was.
Yeah,
But no, Call of Duty would not have been top one. Honestly, this is ranking
this is
higher
up
on my
there, right?
list. Yeah, I feel like people have been saying Assassin's Creed got back to its roots. So when I play that and give it a chance, I think I'll
Probably
like
be up
that
there,
too.
yeah.
What else have I really been playing though? Like people hate 2K for the most part, but I mean that's kind of like a given. It's never
Mhm.
anything new. You're paying mad bread for nothing.
I'm
Um,
surprised you didn't get Resident Evil 4.
oh, I did. You
Oh,
know I
you
did,
did?
bro. Yeah, I downloaded that as soon as it came out, bro.
Oh, okay, okay. So
Yeah,
that's not up there for you?
it is honestly it is. It's definitely up there. Because I like what they did as far as like it wasn't just a remake. They changed some things around,
All
changed
the
like areas
mechanics and
around.
stuff.
Yeah, and it's like it came out. It actually came out really good. Hardest thing for me is that I feel like because I played the original Resident Evil
So
4
many
so many
times.
times, like the replay value, it's obviously there, but it's just like, bro, like I've played this game over and over and
Yeah.
over and over again.
Yeah.
So
I was trying to guess like the nominees. So like for me, it would definitely be like Liza P's gonna be on there. Tears of the Kingdom still high. It's there's a lot of recency bias too though, because like I played that 6 months ago, but like I put 95 hours into that game and I
mhm.
didn't even do everything. And I've been very vocal on this channel that Breath of the Wild, I did not like that change in direction for Zelda. But Tears of the
Mhm.
Kingdom coming out made me play Breath of the Wild and then
Zelda.
I end
Okay.
up liking it. Tears of the Kingdom. If you're not gonna play Breath of the Wild, like and just play Tears of the Kingdom, because like going back to play Breath of the Wild to playing Tears of the Kingdom is like it's not it.
Yeah,
Like you'll
that's
feel
fair.
very like handicapped or like something's missing. But yeah, so that's up there. Sea of Stars still. I keep recommending that to everybody. Definitely a really good game. Hi-Fi Rush was really good. And it was a shadow drop. Like Xbox just like randomly they were doing a presentation. They were like, yeah, this game's gonna be available tonight. And we're like, what the hell? And it's from the same guy who no, not Devil May Cry. I don't think he worked on that. I might be mixing that up. might be from the same team that worked on it. I don't want to mix that up, but it kind of had like that Devil May Cry like feel to it, but you fought like on beat. Like there'd be a song playing and like you did more damage if you didn't have to be on beat, but you did more damage and stuff like that. This art style was really dope. So that's like kind of like my short list. But as far as like what people was thinking, they thinking like Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate 3 are like pretty much locked, solidified. They're gonna be on there. I don't think Lies of P is gonna make it just because I don't think a lot of people played it
Yeah,
and they
I don't
didn't
think so
rate
either.
that high. People have been debating if remakes should make it on, like you mentioned, like Resident Evil, Dead Space,
I feel
Metroid
like it
Prime,
should.
but it's kind of like I feel like they need their own category at this point, like because
Yeah, I mean,
most
if
of the
you
games that get remade are some of the greatest games of all time. Like they're
Mhm.
always going to overshadow everything else. So
Okay, yeah, I get what you mean.
yeah,
Less about themselves and more about not overshadowing like brand new games that came up. So yeah, okay, I can understand
yeah.
that.
Yeah, so we'll see. I'll probably do a video just going over the nominations and stuff like that, and then probably do one where I'm going through and like voting for each category or whatever and everything like that. But all right, yeah. So, oh, by the way, we just hit 500 subscribers. So when we hit 1,000, I do have a giveaway that I'm doing. So watch my Sea of Stars review. We're giving away one of those Nintendo 64 Nintendo Switch controllers or whatever. So once we hit 1,000, so watch that Sea of Stars review, and then all the rules and everything's in there. But that pretty much does it for this video. Again, thank you, Avante. Appreciate it. Thank you for helping me get through this game because I easily would have uninstalled that thing.
Yeah, Brad, trust me, like I'm so stubborn. That's the if I wasn't as stubborn as I was, I definitely would have quit just because like I hate losing, but
Yeah,
because I hate losing so much and I'm stubborn, I'm like, yo, I gotta complete this game.
yeah,
And especially because I spent money on it. I can't not complete the game. You feel
you
me? So
have
like
right.
I have to. But yeah, like it's one of those ones where you really I feel like you needed somebody else playing the game with you because otherwise it would have just been like, yo, okay, bet, I'm done with this. Like let me Call it
100%.
pop in like 2K or something and just play that.
Right.
But
But all
yeah,
right. Appreciate it.
yes
Everybody like and
sir.
subscribe. Catch you on the next one.